We'll also be throwing our focus around the real estate industry. If I am allowed to give you some statistics, I'll go ahead. The real estate industry in Kenya has been growing at a rate of about 7% in the last 5 years. Its contribution to Kenya's GDP is about $300 billion 300 billion Kenya shillings every year. And so it's such a big mover when it comes to numbers. When you look at the number of, the demand of housing in Kenya, the number stands at about 300,000 units every year. But we are always woefully shaped when it comes to ensuring that we meet this number, because we are always doing between 50 and 70,000 units. And so you still have about more than 200,000 people who are in needs of housing, but they do not have access to this. And that's why the government has been very aggressive in trying to drive the affordable housing agenda, so that we can see how we can bridge the demand gap in this country. Well, Vaal Real Estate is one of the players in this sector, and Victor Ndegwa is now joining us from this company to help us give us perspective on where we are and where we are going, and of course the issues that are going to shape this industry in the next 5 years. Ndegwa, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. First of all, give us an overview of what's currently happening in the real estate industry in Kenya.
All right. First things first, thank you so much for having me here. Just like you said, my name is Victor. Real estate right now is a robust organizer. We're having a lot of things we're dealing with. You've quoted it very well. The governor also addressed it in line with the fact that land right now is becoming of, it's actually, we are losing out on land, and now the only way is going high. We have a couple of emerging issues coming up. One of them is exactly that. We are actually losing in terms of land for accommodation. As it stands right now, I think in Nairobi, we host around, I stand corrected, but around 10 going to 11 million citizens in Nairobi only. And the space in which you're supposed to live in or probably reside in is actually going to is actually skidding to a very small scale. Right now, all that we're doing is going high. The high rises have become a very common sight nowadays. And the whole idea is we want to see how best we can utilize all the resources we have around to satisfy each and every Kenyan that we have. Personally, for us, we try and narrow down to a couple of things. We'll do houses for investment. We'll also do them for residents. All right. Now, giving citizens that chance to choose, whereby if you want to go probably to the investment side where you want to make some money out of it, or residents, at least it gives you a chance to also think through it in a broader way, and also gives you the opportunity to also choose wisely. Because one of the things that has been struggling or probably giving us a problem in the real estate sector, and even people joining real estate sector have been slowed down, is the fact that people feel the urge to not only do due diligence, but also trust real estate as an investment opportunity, which is why some of the companies like ours come in through. So we have a couple of things that are coming through, and I think the sky is only the limit. In as much as we might have all that and much more, I believe we do have solutions, and of course we are here to provide them.
Yes. And when you look at the two segments of the market between residential and commercial space, where are we seeing more demand and more supplies?
Now, demand, especially in Nairobi, is going to come with the investment side. Now, speaking as an advisor and having spoken to a lot of clients before, Nairobi is a very good and very robust area to make money out of real estate, as opposed to when you go outskirts of Nairobi. Now, let me paint you a picture. Before, we did have, or probably before when you'd have such a conversation, most people would probably talk about, say, if they have saved enough money, they'd want to go up country, develop, and then probably now reside there, leave the whole hustles and bustles of Nairobi. But nowadays, we're having this emergence of people now thinking now, where am I going to get the highest capital appreciation rate? All right? Is it far off, probably back home, or is it now where we are? Is it in Nairobi? the prime areas. Number two, where am I going to get the highest rental income? All right. So when you look at all these factors in place, Nairobi and any other city becomes a very good area to make to get some rental income. Like now, for example, we talk about studios and one bedrooms going ahead, giving you roughly almost over 60,000 Kenya shillings per month.
Yeah.
That's on a long-term rental basis. And not putting into fact that we do have nowadays the emergence of short-term rental. All right? The short-term rentals are now what we've seen, or probably we've had them being called Airbnbs and the rest. With such, and with an introduction of the same in the market, we do find that there's a rise in the quest for people to make this money because it's actually there. And people will always wonder where tenants are coming from or probably how we're able to achieve these numbers, but it always boils down to the management of the company, which is something that we're very steadfast in as Vaal. So we do have such that we deal with, but I'll say in Nairobi, we do have a lot of emergence of people in the investment side rather than residents. Yeah.
And I mean, more often than not, I mean, when we talk about the real estate industry, I mean, what most developers are always talking about, you know, they are looking at the profitability and the margins.
Yeah.
At what point do we now need to focus on the moral obligation of housing Kenyans? And what I'm talking about is ensuring that you provide a roof for Kenyans.
Correct.
At the lowest profit margins possible.
Well, for the lowest profit margins, especially in Nairobi, sometimes we will always advise our clients to also be a bit more ambitious. Now, I want to shift your perspective to this way. When you talk about the moral stature of tenants, it's very hard to control every single person living in every single roof that we try to provide as a solution. But now, what companies like ours are doing, we offer management. We are going to come here and give you, not only are we giving you a roof over your head and also for your family, but we'll also go a step further and present ourselves present in every project that we do, so that we are able to monitor and now do all these things, probably cover this whole area for the morality and all these other things that institute you living comfortably in your house. Because it's going to be hard for you to do that, we will do that on your behalf. It's an emerging trend again from most developers, because you'll find developers like us as Vaal, we do have management and letting services that we offer to all our landlords. So what does that mean? At the event that you buy or you do get a home as yourself and you decide to reside in it, Vaal as the company that sold you the house and also as a manager is going to be present. In case there's anything that needs to be sorted there, we are going to be first hand. The other thing we will find that is very nice is very many people often fear real estate because of the same things. Where do I get a tenant? How am I going to start looking for them? Who is going to control their movements in and out? How am I supposed to be safe knowing that my things are out there and I'm not there with them? So answering such questions gives us some bit of a satisfaction and fulfillment when you're delivering these solutions, because you tend to put a smile on each and every person's face in that family, knowing that they can sleep comfortably and they can still at the same time live in the best choice or probably location of preference that they would want. So it usually comes, it's a merge. You have to work with both scenarios. We don't have anywhere where we would say there is perfect real estate. Of course, just like any other industry, we have to work with what we have. The resources that are presented to us, we will try and distribute them accordingly to each and every person so that everybody remains satisfied. So sometimes we will try, sometimes we will achieve, sometimes we will ask for your help, give us opinions, give us feedback and whatnot. So, yeah.
When you look at the rate of urbanization here in Kenya, I mean, it has been growing at a rate of 5%, and you have about 30% of the Kenyan population living in urban areas. And so you expect demand to keep on growing, and more so in the urban areas. And we have seen a lot of concentration in and around Nairobi County.
Correct.
And Kiambu County, Kajiado, as well as Machakos. Where do you see the next area of focus when it comes to urbanization and residential development coming in the next 5 years?
That's a very interesting question because it was part of a discussion we had not a few days ago. And to be honest, the answer to that is it will always be dependent. Mm-hmm. It will always be dependent on a number of factors. Number one, just like the first question you asked me, whether people will prefer a location for residence or investment. We will need to see what kind of investors are coming in, what the area is ready to offer, if it has enough amenities, sorry, if it has enough resources to offer its citizens that are going to be occupying there. Mm-hmm. Right now, as we stand, there is still a lot of room for improvement in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. It's the fastest rising, yes, but there's still a lot of room. We have been graced to have very good land area in Kenya, and I think in most of Africa. So we do have a lot of space that we need to utilize. The question actually is how beneficial is the utilization going to be for every person, because we still have a couple of people where we have a couple of tenants or landlords that are going to be presented with the best area for investment or probably to utilize in the best way, mm-hmm. but they will still choose not to. All right. Sometimes we do have such cases, and we try as much as possible to mitigate them by advising and creating more awareness about real estate and such things. So right now, to be honest, it's very, very dependent. People right now, we are seeing a surge of people trying to go probably to more of the central region rather than stick to Nairobi. And at the same time, we're having a lot of people, and also from outside Nairobi and also outside Kenya, mm-hmm. choosing Nairobi as their place of residence, as their desired place of residence. We will have a lot of tenants probably as non-citizens. Also, we've had the privilege of also working with them. And right now, it is very, very dependent. The waters of real estate are very well, they're very good right now to work with. But at the same time, you also have to come with an edge of learnedness to it, because you need to be able to gauge whichever area is going to give you more and probably optimum resource that is going to be beneficial for you. I might stage you in Kiambu, but the weather probably there or probably in line with what that you like, the economic activity you like to do doesn't favor that area. I might place you in Nairobi and it's quite busy for you. It's really heavily dependent, but then again, a lot of positive feedback is also being obtained from the same. So it's highly dependent, to be honest. Very, very dependent.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of Kiambu County. I mean, Nairobi has been the real estate hotbed in the country, followed by Kiambu County. And we have seen the emergence of new satellite towns, towns like Ruaka, towns like Uthiru and so much. Yeah. But you still have huge areas of the county, that is of Kiambu, that remain undeveloped. Are we likely to see more people, moving out of the urban areas to the less developed parts of counties like Kiambu County, Kajiado, Machakos?
In the near future, I'd say yes. And I'd say yes because I also think the government is doing a lot of things to enable this. When it comes to urbanization, now it's highly dependent on the amount of resources that are there. So if, say, for example, we go to Kiambu and we go to the areas that are not highly resourceful for people or human beings to reside in, and the government was probably to issue, they would issue any help, quote unquote, to probably mitigate the same, we will see a surgence of people. People are looking for a couple of things right now. One of them is security. We have to make sure the place that they live in, of course, as a family, you look for security. The other thing is road network. How accessible am I from where I stay? How accessible is the nearest CBD? How accessible is the nearest hospital, the nearest mall, the nearest school? If they're accessible, a person is going to choose them. The other thing is proximity to amenities. We do have areas that are highly inaccessible but are robust with amenities. all right? And if we can have such places probably aired, and probably if we do get to see them more often than not, you'll see people going there. It will always be highly dependent on what the consumer is looking for. Our rule of thumb most of the times is the customer is always right. We listen to them, they give us the feedback, we offer advice according to how best we have and according to what we have in our inventory. So definitely we will see a surge of people going outside Nairobi and any other major town, guaranteed and probably assured that the resources are going to be distributed equally to suit the number of people that's going to be living there. So we will see that. In the next nearing future, we will see that. Yeah.
And I mean, when you look at the Kenyan real estate market, it's segmented in two areas. One, you have the commercial real estate I mean, the commercial real estate and the residential real estate, whereby the residential real estate, you know, dominate this market in real monetary terms, and you're looking at a market that is valued at more than 670 billion Kenya shillings, whereby the residential, you know, they're almost 602. Why then do we still have a challenge, you know, in putting enough office space in the market, despite the fact that there is a huge demand for this?
That's a very interesting question also, because most of what we encounter, like now for myself, of course, we'll deal, just like you said, we'll deal with residentials. But when it comes to the commercial spaces, the demand usually, I'd call it fluctuative, because then again, like now, for example, in Nairobi, we have a lot of office space, and a lot of it has been occupied. But then again, on the other flip side, a lot of them have not been occupied. And we are looking at probably reasons to probably talk about, the reasons that would get to that would be the capital appreciation. So for example, when you come to Nairobi, we stand at 10 to 15% per year. That means even when you're going to be putting up office space here, you need to be considerate of the same, because that's going to affect how you're going to charge as rent. All right, those are some of the things that we look at. We are going to look at the number of the kind of business that you want to open in that specific space. You might have a whole area of land, and you have a person who wants to put up a football field, and you have another person who wants to put up like 10,000 kiosks. All right, all these things have to be put in perspective when you're talking about commercial space. Commercial space is very intricate when it comes to information. However, we will see a surge again in the same, because then again, our belief system from before was contributed to one of the reasons why people never used to engage in such things. We used to believe as a community and as a people that you know, probably kiosks is the way to go. The people who are in urban areas were the ones who are used to seeing a lot of office spaces and all that. Even people opening office spaces was something that we started seeing very commonly, like say around 10, 15 years ago. It is not something that we lived with. So some of the common practices and beliefs when it comes to generating money are some of the things that you're going to overcome with time. When we give it time, of course, it is going to breed some results. But then again, it will also need the cooperation of the consumer. If, say, for example, we come to a place like this, where let's say we are at the heart of Nairobi, and I'm going to be offering cleaning services, the consumers also at that point will also need to need the service that I'm offering. If I do that in a place that don't need such of a service, then I'm going to be complaining a lot. All right. Some of the things and the feedbacks we take, we usually do a lot of feasibility studies, because it contributes to the feedback that guides us, that offers us the solutions that we offer to our consumers at the end of the day. Because at first, remember, it has to make sense to me before even I offer it as a solution to any other person. So we are having such scenarios because of our common beliefs. People didn't believe in office spaces now. They didn't believe them in office spaces more than they believe in them now. But then again, we have a lot of factors that are contributing to the same. And of course, when given time and we properly articulate them and we address them the proper way, we will see an increase in the same. So the commercial spaces are also going to be in high demand very, very soon, if not now.
And the government has also been talking about building housing units that are affordable and accessible
Yeah.
to people. And this is, you know, when you're talking about affordable houses, you're talking about, you know, a one-bedroom house going for between 700 and 1 million Kenya shillings, while a two-bedroom house will cost you between 1.5 to 2 M. But in the era of rising cost of building materials, and I'm talking about cement, I'm talking about steel, I'm talking about paint, I'm talking about labor, which forms about almost 40% of a building component. Are we likely to see the cost of houses really coming down anytime soon?
You see, the answer to that is yes and no. Yes, because I'm very happy and privileged to be in a country where this is being championed by the government. All right, the government has in its place and in its authority the capability of putting in the necessary subsidies to enable such things to happen. Then again, of course, when you talk about that, we'll also talk about the consistency of the same. How durable is this solution to the masses? But then again, we will say no. Only probably I'd say if the government doesn't come in and step in as the way that it's doing, it might be a bit of a challenge, because the economic status right now, and I've liked how you've quoted, like for each particular ingredient that we need to build a house, is really becoming expensive, and probably in the private sector it may be a bit hard to cushion all this for the masses. We can always advise and offer solutions, but we might be compromised at some point. But then again, the fact that it's coming from government gives us a very huge, I'd call it an exponential potential. It's bound to blow up within any time, because just like you've said, you can imagine a one-bedroom going for less than 2 million Kenya shillings. That is really affordable if the Kenyans were advised on how properly to probably, you know, work their finances up to get to that point. At this point, we talk about probably less than 5% of Kenyans owning homes. And I think that is the direction that we're trying to look forward to. But the fact that it's being championed by government is a good thing. For us as a company, we try by listening to the clients. When it comes to offering affordable housing, us in the private sector, we will look at it in a different perspective. I will try and offer solutions to my clients based on the capabilities that the company can go, the extent that the company can go. With the information that I've managed to amass till now, definitely there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a lot of room for people to grow in. We'll talk about, say, the payment plans, we'll talk about the installment packages, we'll give offers, we'll give discounts. We're used to this kind of languages, just to provide solutions to each and every client that steps into the Vaal offices. So without a shadow of a doubt, by the fact that it's being championed by government and not private entities, it's going to go far. It will go far. We will see a lot of people owning homes, which is the solution and the quest for most of us working in the real estate. We'll see a lot of people getting security for most of their families. We'll see a lot of children now happily going probably to schools, because where they are homes, we will have amenities, and they're going to come in due time, faster than not. So definitely the room for improvement when it comes to affordable housing is great. It's immensely great. We will see a lot of people own houses, and at the end of the day, we'll see a lot of people happy. So I'm happy when I see the government doing that. It is going to also enable me offer my solutions better, and the conversation a bit more juicy and sweeter when I'm speaking to my client. Yeah.
And something else that you know, has shaped the real estate industry in Kenya. I mean, when you look at the last 10, 15 years, I mean, developers are focused on the middle class, which is a very small component of the Kenyan population, and you're talking about less than 20% of Kenyans. You know, they fall under that category. And then you have the rich people who are between another 20 to 25%. And so you have the majority of Kenyans who will not be considered, who do not fall into those two classes, you know, forming about 60% of the population. And this bottom of the pyramid population has been left behind. Are we looking at now coming up with new initiatives and development techniques targeting this lower of the bottom I mean, bottom of the pyramid,
bottom of the pyramid.
class?
Yeah, yes, we are. Like I mentioned, we will talk about probably advising clients when it comes to probably how to guide their monies best in getting into real estate. And we are trying as much as possible to accommodate them. Now, the economic status, like we mentioned, is not very favorable, but it does allow us to probably make a few decisions, especially in the private sector. Right now, we would be very comfortable of talking about, we are trying to to bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Say, for example, 5 years back, normal studio or normal one bedroom would have fetched probably for slightly lower than it would right now because of capital appreciation, especially when you target Nairobi, but you're trying to see how best you can mitigate that as a company. Very good example is before you'd find a studio going for around 5 million, probably as an example. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's definitely going to go higher. It's going to be, right now studios go for around 7 to around 7 point something million. Mm-hmm. But as a company, we try and mitigate that gap. We try and see how best we can offer, even if it's a solution that is going to, at least we're trying to look at the longevity of and the durability of the solution. You see, for us in the private sector, it might be a bit of a hassle. It might be a bit of a hassle probably offering solutions to the masses, just like you've talked about, the bottom of a pyramid people. And focusing on the middle class only is as a result of business. We need it to make sense in form of money for us to be able to progress. But then again, what you've said is coming as a very strong emergence, and we are really trying as much as we can to focus to see how best we can accommodate them in this whole industry, because it's a huge cake. There's a piece for everybody. And whether they want to come into the real estate market as investors or probably as residentials, the best and the most finest way for them to come in is what you're going to choose for them. Mm-hmm. Right now, everything is in the works. Of course, discussions are underway. This is a very hot topic right now, especially if I was to go back in the office, we'd find them talking about this, and every other time trying to find solutions of the same. But we are trying. The beauty of this whole story is we've already started that conversation, and it's already in the air. So we want to see how best we can work, even if it means working with government, because then again, they're the ones who've now spearheaded this whole affordable housing topic, and they've spearheaded it very well. Mm-hmm. So the talks are in there. We're trying. The much that I can say right now is we're really trying. Vaal will fall on the category of companies that I would say are really trying, because apart from developing them, we will try and offer management. This is something that most developers probably are catching up right now, but we're not doing later. This is to aid in the same consumer. It's trying to aid them in the fact that you do not need to think about any other thing apart from yourself. I need you to think about your unit as an investor or you as a residential partner there. We are trying to offer also letting services, trying to see how best we can screen tenants, getting to see how best we can increase the security of the projects that we have, trying as much as we can to push the envelope further to see how best we can be able to accommodate them. So the discussion is there.
Are there like policy interventions that the government can put in place just to suppress the cost of houses in Kenya?
I would say that is probably not my call to make for now, because like I mentioned, it's being spearheaded by government, and we're also trying to follow back behind. But say, for example, I would be very comfortable to say I wish probably say as blanket, I would say the land rates went down. Let's say, for example, blanket, something like I would probably say the government issue subsidies to probably put the land rates down. That way everything real estate is affordable. But then again, now that will come as a double-edged sword back to me as a real estate practitioner, because then again now that solution needs to be durable. If you're going to offer a solution right now, it needs to be remembered and it needs to be durable and effective a year or 2 years from now. So now what happens? When the government asks you that question, you need to be able to provide answers, and probably practical answers and illustrations of how you can be able to do that. That's why probably I'd say I might not be the best one to mention the same, but we do have people in government who would pull up the same. We have, if they would be able to incorporate the private sector, probably call our bosses, get to meet in the middle of somewhere. I believe we do have a couple of policies, or probably they can adjust here or there. You know, we will, speaking as also part of the citizens in Kenya, I don't think we'll ask for much. You just need a roof on your head. If you're to break it down in the simplest of forms, you just need to be comfortable that where I'm going home is secure and it's there. And I'm not 50-50 about it. And there's so many things that are going to contribute to the same, but then again, off our controller. So policies to be adjusted, I might not have any in particular to pinpoint, but then again, I do believe that discussion is very important and something that should be held right now. Yeah.
The other issue that I have heard you know, developers talking about is, and you've touched on this, is the issue of land rate. And you see, when you look at land, I mean, it forms a major component in the cost of constructing a house.
Yeah.
Some people would put it at 50%.
It's actually the whole foundation. It's
yes.
everything, yeah.
And so, are there government rates or taxes that can be removed or lowered that will have a major impact on the cost of a complete unit of a house?
There are. We do have them, but like I mentioned, because I need to be very careful with what I say here, I might not be the one to call those shots. Now, I do have people above my hierarchy, of course, and probably people who discuss these matters at length better than I do, all right? I'll be tasked with advising clients according to the level of knowledge that I have. When a client comes to me, I'm supposed to offer the solution that is presented and that's available with the company. When you start the discussion of probably what laws probably governing the land rates or any other government policy that's affecting land, which ones can be changed or lowered, probably there's somebody else I think that would be best placed in mentioning this, because like I said, we have a lot of potential in real estate as we speak, and most, if not all of that potential will be tagged on the same thing, the taxes. And me speaking about taxes and probably any rates that might affect land in my position probably might be a bit short of information. There are people probably that are better placed for that. We can have that discussion later. Probably I can come with my boss, then you can meet him, and then we can have this discussion. But it would be better placed with him. He goes through. We usually divide our work in our company, and he's better placed because he does most of the research. All of the reports we come and gather and we bring to him, and then now he tabulates them. Then he's able to see the way forward. It's a discussion that can be had, but probably with different people other than myself. Yes, but it is there. It can be made. They can.
You know, that conversation should happen if it is not happening at all.
If it's not happening at all.
Look, I mean, there were fears when you know, the government started getting aggressive into the real estate industry by developing affordable housing, and there were fears that, from some quarters that because of its financial war chest, the government was going to elbow out private developers. Have you seen any signs of this happening?
Signs of it happening, no. Talks, yes. And it's one of those things that it will put us in a very, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but a weird position. Because then again, we are Kenyans. I might work for Vaal, but we're Kenyans at the end of the day. If there's a solution that is being offered to Kenyans, I'd also be very agreeable to the same. But then again, when it implicates differently to now the company, which adversely affects me, then now that the tone of the discussion will change. And I think that is the same thing that's happening to most of the guys in government, probably most of the guys in the private sector of real estate. The discussion is there, but now getting to an agreement that is going to favor both parties is where the real question is. If I'm going to provide a solution that is going to put probably one player at a compromising situation, then most definitely they're going to backlash. When they brought it up I would say in the best tone that they felt best. All right, it did rub a couple of shoulders wrongly, but then again, at the end of the day, it's a discussion, and I think that's why the government is there. It's there to guide what we speak. It's there to guide what we think about and how best we can better our situation as a community. So, I haven't seen it happening yet, and I doubt I'm going to see it in the near future, but it is something that is present. It is more of an elephant in the room. When we start talking about affordable housing and then you come now to the private sector, the conversation is there, but probably they're still yet to, let's say, come to an agreement, an amicable agreement that they can now come and give us as a whole. So it is there, but I haven't seen it yet.
But should the business of ensuring Kenyans have access to affordable homes be left to the private sector alone? Do you see the role of the government?
The role of the government is immense there. Like I mentioned, they have the power to offer any incentives that can govern us and also can guide us to offer even better solutions to real estate, all right? The problem, or probably what needs to mitigate it, because it's not a problem, it's just a challenge, it's a drawback, and we have to walk through these things through life, is how best this is going to be channeled to also benefit the government. Because remember, the government is also Monanchi. We are the ones who chose them in government. They are us, they are our representations. If we work, or probably if we make any policy that puts them at a compromising situation, they will talk back. And when they talk back, we are bound to listen. And now talking about the private sector, and when we come together with a united voice, I guess that's where the solution lies. So yeah, it's one of those, to be honest.
For the government as well as for the private sector.
Yeah.
I mean, you're watching BizCheck live from Broadcasting House. I mean, we're almost coming to the end of the second hour, and our conversation has been around the trends in the real estate industry. Well, we're almost coming to the tail end of BizCheck this morning, because I can see it's 12 o'clock. But before we do so, I just want to have the final conversation with Victor Ndegwa. He's from Vaal Real Estate. We've been having a conversation around the real estate in Kenya, the trends that are going to shape this industry in the next 5 years. Before I let you go, Ndegwa, this sector is valued at 680 billion Kenya shillings currently, and there are projections that it's likely to cross the 1 trillion mark by the year 2027. Do you see this happening?
Yes, I do see this happening. Like I mentioned, it's a huge cake for everyone to be part of, but definitely it's coming to that. Right now, real estate in Kenya, probably from my opinion, would be the best investment sector to join. First of all, especially with a company like ours, we will offer management. We are going to get you the high rises that you need, even for investment or also for residents. And definitely with the capital appreciation that is going on right now, there's a lot to be made and a lot of livelihoods to change. So definitely that is bound to happen. Yes. And
what do you see shaping the growth of this sector in the next 5 years?
I like how the president introduced this policy where he made us, or probably made Africans visa-free to come to Kenya. It's bringing a lot of investors to play, and of course with a lot of investors, or probably different investors, comes with different perspectives, different ways to handle things, different ways to probably look at things in the first place. So we are having a lot of people coming into the market to better it now. Before probably, or any other time, Kenyans would have been afraid of joining real estate because they think that the players probably are corrupt, or probably the players they don't keep their word, or such things. These are things that are changing right now. We have track records to observe, we have due diligence to do, we have a lot of information to gather around real estate for it to become successful, and of course for any other sector. So definitely the sky is the limit when it comes to real estate, especially now. The time to invest is now.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Victor, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us.
Thank you for having
on this show.
Yes.
Your time is highly appreciated,
Thank you.
Your insight is also highly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I mean, you have been watching BizCheck, 2 hours of solid conversation around medical tourism as well as real estate industry plus more. This is what we do on Thursday. every Thursday from 10 to 12 p.m. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for your time. We look forward to having you again on Thursday next week. Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up next. And thereafter, we shall be having our 1 p.m. bulletin. Have a good one.